Hello, rail fans. Welcome to a very special episode of French Fried Trains. Today, we're going to be taking a look back at some of my favorite rail fanning moments from the past 2 years as a way of celebrating this channel's anniversary. We're going to see all kinds of trains in this video, so sit back and relax and enjoy. And what better place to start the video than the very first train that I captured on video and posted to YouTube. This was the first train I ever got on video, and it was a doozy. 5 Union Pacific locomotives. Now you may notice that the sound quality is terrible. My old phone was not nearly as good as what I use now, but it will get better as we move on through time through this video. This one was the first time I actually recorded a train at the Farmington Road crossing. A Norfolk Southern Intermodal with a single locomotive, something I've not seen since. This was December of 2017 and the first snow that year. I've included this one here because that was the only time I've ever seen one of the old gray KCS locomotives. I like this one because of how much the train is throwing up the snow down by its wheels. And you can really hear there how bad the sound quality on my old phone was. But like I said, I obviously got a new phone nowadays, and it will get better. This day was awesome because this 4-locomotive train had been stopped at the park for a while. We pulled in and were watching them. The conductor was out doing something on one of the rear locomotives, and then it was time for the train to head northbound out of town. It was my first time catching a train accelerating from a dead stop. He's taking so long to get moving because this was one beast of a train, with 4 locomotives and taking over 10 minutes for the entire train to go by once it started accelerating. It was huge. If you look closely, you can see the second locomotive there is a road slug. This next clip was awesome because we were at the park on foot. We were actually leaving the park through the rear exit when we heard a train, and we caught it on video here, and it happened to be the geometry train. Another weekend afternoon, and another train in the siding, this time led by Union Pacific locomotives. I've included this video from a weekday morning at 9 a.m. because the lead locomotive has a crazy fouled horn and a much lighter paint scheme than most CSX locomotives. This was another time of pure luck, where we happened to be going home through the back of the park when a train rolled up to stop in the siding. And this happens to be the first time I actually caught a BNSF locomotive, and the first time we got a short horn salute from the engineer. And now it's a snowy Saturday morning at the Gross Lumber parking lot, and we caught this CSX train with Norfolk Southern power. Now it's another winter evening, and we're where Robert placed dead ends at the railroad tracks. A fairly generic CSX train, but I always liked the lighting in this video. That one was luck. We went over the rails and saw headlights, so I pulled off to film, and it was a locomotive running with an old Conrail caboose. It was a snowy day, and we seen some CSX maintenance of way equipment pulling into Dup siding, so we pulled off to film it. That was my daughter. She was in the car with us at the time, and back then she was only about 2 years old, so she wasn't staying quiet for nothing. They were replacing railroad ties over winter of 2017 and into early 2018, so it was fairly common to see maintenance of way equipment parked in Dup siding like this. This is one of the first times I filmed up at the Union Road crossing. A Norfolk Southern train with a Union Pacific SD70 Ace in the mix. And a 6 locomotive CSX train that I barely caught in time. Another snowy day and a train with multiple Union Pacific locomotives. It seems like back then when I was first railfanning, those first couple months we caught Union Pacific locomotives all the time. Hard to hear with the terrible audio on that old phone, but that was a nice horn show as well. We looked out with this one at the crossing, and it's part of the old Lorem shoulder ballast cleaner train. This was taken at the top of the hill of the park, and I lucked out. Multiple locomotives, and the final one is a fairly rare CSX genset locomotive with a low, long hood. The genset locomotives have multiple small diesel engines in them instead of one big one, the idea being that when they have low power, they can only run one or two of the small engines and therefore have less emissions. This train is led by an SD70 Mac as it begins its slowdown. This next train was a good catch. It's led by an SD30C Eco, followed by 3 BNSF locomotives. It was moving into spring of 2018, and we were at the park again. I've included this one in because it was the first time I recorded a train that had Canadian Pacific power. Now I'm once again on top of the hill in the park. Check out this one. BNSF power, but look how faded the lead locomotive is. And even a little horn show. It's the beginning of summer 2018 now, and this highball southbound train gave us an epic horn show. Now we're in the back of the park and on foot. I was on foot, so I had no choice but to record here. I had no time to go anywhere else. But I'm glad I still recorded it, because we got some KCS units in the Southern Belle paint scheme. Next up, it was a midsummer's day, while the crossing here at Beekler Road was closed as they were repaving and redoing it. Four locomotives with a road slug trailer. This was an epic catch because the leader is a City Rail leaser locomotive. It's a nice summer evening during the week, and we got this train with Union Pacific locomotives, and we got a pretty nice horn show. Another summer evening, and even more foreign power. This time, the train is led by KCS Southern Belle units. That was a nice catch, and the sun was about in the most perfect spot it could be to film those locos. Now, it was a Saturday evening. I saw Norfolk Southern had a green signal, and I pulled off right at the crossing here to film it. And boy did I luck out. It was the Operation Lifesaver unit. I saw he was slowing down and very short, so I figured it was the local going into Franklin. I raced around the block to the other side of town and beat him into Franklin to catch him again. One of the shortest locals I've ever seen come through here. Just 2 cars today. Now it's a weekday afternoon, and we caught a Q509 coming into town and slowing down. And he gives us one heck of a horn show here. Another summer day and another train. This time, there's 7 locomotives. Another day that same week, we were in the same spot, and we got a Norfolk Southern locomotive coming into town on the CSX line, and the leader was definitely putting out some smoke. That same month, we were on the other side of the rails from my normal spot, and we caught this train with a single KCS Southern Bell unit pulling. This next clip is one of my favorite railfanning moments. We are at Union Road to film a Norfolk Southern train, and as their gates engaged, we heard more dinging and the CSX crossing fired up. There was going to be a train on each track on each side of us. A train on each side going opposite ways. This was the first and only time that I've had this happen while I was up there at Union Road. This one was taken on a weekend morning. Another train led by Union Pacific locomotives and another great horn show. It's summer of 2018, and now we're in Lebanon, Ohio at the Lebanon, Mason, and Monroe Railroad for the Day Out with Thomas event to see Thomas the Tank Engine. It was a very hot day that day, as Thomas the Tank Engine leads the excursion train back into Lebanon Station. And their nickel plate road SD30 brings up the rear. And here's some footage of the Lebanon Mason & Monroe's old high hood GP7 back before they repainted it. And some more footage of Thomas going by here. And here's another shot of Thomas from outside of town. And we did take many more videos of Thomas that day. So if you want to see those, there's actually a playlist on my channel of all the Thomas videos. It was a great day of rail fanning. It's another hot weekend day, and we're at the south end of Carlisle to catch a train we saw coming when we went over the tracks at Martz Poland. This train was coming into the siding to make a stop. Later that same day, we're at the gas station in Carlisle to catch this train with the Norfolk Southern leader. Later that week, it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday in the evening, we caught this train with a BNSF locomotive trailing in the war bonnet paint scheme. That was an awesome catch. Now it's September of 2018, and I was in Camden, Ohio for a camping trip when I decided to stay in town and railfan for a bit. Four locomotives with a Union Pacific SD70 mag trailing. An awesome catch for sure. This video was taken on my birthday that year, and what better birthday treat than an out-of-the-ordinary maintenance of way train. Even a quick horn salute from the engineer on this odd maintenance of way train. They even brought a backhoe with them. That guy was so unique and cool, and he stopped in the siding, so I ended up driving all the way to the south end of the town to get him when he left the siding. And being as short as he is, that single locomotive gets him moving in no time at all. A week later, we caught this guy with the road slug trailing. This footage was taken in October of 2018 when I was on vacation, and this was at the Kentucky Railway Museum in New Haven, Kentucky. Now, unfortunately, my memory card became corrupted, and most of my footage from that trip was destroyed. I do still have this quick shot of the train that we rode on that day. Here's some footage taken while on the train as we drove past some of their other equipment. If you've never been to the Kentucky Railroad Museum, you should go. The amount of equipment they have out and about is staggering. Even an old railway crane. And check out this old Sioux line caboose. Now this footage was taken in LaGrange, Kentucky, at the little railway museum they have there. And they actually have some old train equipment out that you can climb on, so that's where I'm filming from now. And check this out. The trailing locomotive is an old GP30, one of my favorite diesel locomotives. It's a road slug, but good to see it out there working. Now in LaGrange, Kentucky, the trains actually street run right through old downtown, which is what I wanted to film, but the train came while we were still at the Railway Museum, so it couldn't be helped. And you can see here the locomotive setting off cars at a small sidetrack, while a BNSF locomotive pulls an autorack train forward. Unfortunately, I didn't get the autorack train, as that was the moment when my phone died. Now it's a week later, and we're back home in Carlisle for another special treat. This train is led by an SD50. The SD50s are almost completely gone, slated for retirement by CSX. a nice little horn salute there. And now for something a little different. Here's the zoo train at the Cincinnati Zoo. And now we're back in Carlisle for a train coming out of the siding led by Norfolk Southern locomotives. An SD70 Ace leads, my favorite of the modern locomotives. And that was a special treat. I heard a Norfolk Southern train coming on their line, and I raced down there in my car and made it just in time to catch this Lehigh Valley Heritage Unit. Now it's a different week, and we are there at the Union Road crossing to catch the local heading north out of town running Long Hood forward. Now we're back in our normal spot to catch this northbound intermodal train. 3 locomotives on this guy. In the middle is an SD70 Mac with a very faded paint scheme. Now it's a rainy weekend morning, and we're at the Fairview Road crossing for the Norfolk Southern line here in Carlisle. Cruising along with the Union Pacific locomotive trailing. Now I'm filming near the entrance to Dump Siding on a November day with some pretty amazing looking clouds in the sky. I got a few trains that cloudy day in November of 2018. Check out these clouds, how they just hang there. And a little horn salute from a triple locomotive intermodal train. And I got one more train that day under these clouds, as a tanker train came out of the siding and headed northbound. And here we are in the first snow of 2018, and it was coming down pretty heavy that day. A southbound manifest blasts through the snow. And now we're in January 2019, and I was filming outside of AK Steel in Middletown, and I caught these two CSX locomotives running light power. They stopped here under this bridge for a minute, and then took off out of there. Another winter weekend and a very cold day. It doesn't look like it because of the sunlight, but this was probably the coldest day I ever had out filming trains. And that intermodal train was flying. That same cold day, we caught a local CSX train going long hood forward. Now it's a week later and the snow's gone. I'm outside of Gross Lumber here in Carlisle, sitting off to the side so I could watch the crossing. I thought a train was coming, but it was just a consist of two locomotives running light power. And the same thing happened later on that week. The snow was back, but we had another two locomotives running light power. Later that day, we had a northbound manifest train led by some older power. This was a rainy morning in March, and we're at the Martz-Paulin road crossing near the fire station. This coal train had been stopped, and it was heading south when another southbound came to pass it. An intermodal train comes past the locomotives of the parked coal train. Later that day, I was up at Union Road to catch this northbound CSX train. This guy had a Norfolk Southern leader. Now it's another day, and we're just outside Miamisburg, near the old abandoned power plant, to catch the Norfolk Southern local. Another gloomy weekend morning, and we caught this southbound tanker train led by Canadian Pacific locomotives. This snowy day, we were back where Robert placed dead ends into the railroad tracks to catch a southbound CSX train coming through the snow. Another Saturday morning, and another train coming out of the siding, this one led by BNSF locomotives. The next day it was snowing, and we had even more BNSF action. This guy had a DPU unit, and of course, wouldn't luck have it, a snowflake hit the camera right as the second locomotive went by. And now the snow's gone and the sun's out, and we have a 7-locomotive CSX train. This train was a special treat. It was a nice warm spring day, and we were across the tracks from where the gas station is here in Carlisle, and we caught this southbound train, led by Canadian National locomotives. This guy was carrying military equipment. What an awesome catch. Now it's May of 2019, and we're on Butler Street in Hamilton, Ohio. A road slug and mother set leads this train around the curve. Now it's a weekday afternoon, and we're at the restaurant in Camden, just in time to catch a highball Norfolk Southern train. Back in Carlisle as we head into summer, we have a southbound train led by a Canadian National SD70 Ace. It's a weekday afternoon now, and we have a southbound train led by a leaser locomotive that very obviously used to belong to the Union Pacific. Just the words for the name of the railroad are blocked out. Later that week, we caught this train, led by Canadian Nationals, the trailing unit, an old cowl unit with the zebra stripe paint scheme. This one's a southbound iron ore train. We raced on our way to Trenton and caught in South Middletown. He also had a distributed power unit here. Now it's the heat of summer, and we went down the path from Carmody Park here to the railroad bridge in Carlisle Siding. It's a warm Saturday morning with a Canadian Pacific leader. Later that week in the evening, we caught this guy with a Canadian Pacific trailing. It was the exact same locomotive from the previous train. And there was even a fourth locomotive running DPU on the back of the train. And this one was only 15 minutes behind him, with a Canadian National Zebra unit trailing. Now it's Father's Day 2019, and we're in Trenton, Ohio, to catch this local northbound train. If you look close here, you can see the conductor walking down the side of the locomotive. Later that day, still in Trenton, Ohio, we caught this guy with 3 older locomotives on it. An awesome catch. That same day, we were in Hamilton, Ohio to catch this intermodal coming around the curve. He also had a distributed power unit. And now we're back in Carlisle for a Union Pacific Canadian National Wash-Up. Later that week, we caught this train coming into siding to slow down, which appeared to have only one locomotive, but actually had some DPUs on it. And here comes the distributed power units. Take note that one of the DPUs is an SD43. This is the only time I've seen an SD40 running DPU. This guy was unique in that he was pulling a completely empty well car train, led by one Union Pacific loco. An awesome 6 locomotive lash-up with CSX 911 in 1776. And now we're back in Lebanon to catch the summer steam train. It's a hot August morning in 2019 when we caught this southbound led by Canadian Pacific locos. It was a late weekend afternoon when we caught this maintenance of way train that even had an old caboose on it. It was a late Sunday evening when a tip on Facebook led me to stay out and wait for this 6 locomotive train. And another weekend evening, we got this train with 2 BNSF units. Well, everyone, thanks for watching this special 2-year anniversary episode of French Fried Trains. Everyone have a great week, and don't forget to like and subscribe.